always make up new names for him.
You change it on that?
I know. I always call him something different. Like as soon as his microphone show. William Theodore DeWeese.
Hey, Reverend Gleeck, how you doing today?
I'm sitting here with Dave Hamilton in my New York City apartment.
Hey, Dave, how you doing, man?
Doing good, Bill. How's Chicago?
Oh, it is cold, it is wet, and it is windy.
Nice. Sounds like a.
I'm ready to get my plane ticket to Las Vegas.
Yeah, well, we'll see you there soon. So now, hey, I heard good. We'll start shortly here, but
yeah.
So some things did sell. Looks like, right?
Yes, and by the way, let me just tell you up front, I can only stay for like 5 minutes. I was just booked for a last-minute commercial recording session with a client over ISDN, so I'm going to have to scoot pretty soon.
Problem.
But I just at least wanted to check in. Yeah, I have sold. I've had a number of inquiries, but I've actually received money for 3 of the videos for the seminar. Well, at 147 because these were my previous playbook.
Yep.
Owners that we gave the discount, but I also right after that email, somebody ordered my playbook for $247.
Nice.
After receiving that email, so $700 last night, just since last night.
Bill DeWeese getting into the info marketing business full time.
Wow.
Let me tell you, I am totally pumped out of my mind right now.
I love it. It's great. I told you.
Yeah,
this
I
stuff,
am so excited.
Told you this was real.
Yeah, it's just I just laugh. I don't even know what to say sometimes. Just like I tell my wife and I just laugh and say, this is crazy.
Yeah, it's great. It's always great to make money after you've worked and done it once, you know?
Yeah, I mean, just the fact, it's like, yeah, not that I thought it wouldn't work, but when it actually does, not that I'm surprised, but it just makes me giddy.
Hold on, I'm going to actually turn it on so people will be able to listen to this. We won't start.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome, folks. If you're just coming on, we got a couple minutes left. I'm talking with one of my JV partners, Bill DeWeese, and I have Dave Hamilton with me. And so, yeah, go on and brag some more, Bill. Tell us. So now.
Well, on October 1st, I did a full-day audiobook success seminar. It was video and audio taped, and I just sent out my initial sales letter to my list, which is now just over 200 people. And I was just telling Fred and Dave that just last night, I sold 3 sets of the videos, and I had received a lot more response, interest with questions, but 3 actual with money in hand, and another product as a result of that email. So I made $700 last night.
Yeah, this is what it's supposed to be doing. And by the way, all of the Irmalization stuff, all the SEO stuff, hasn't even started to kick in.
Correct. When that does, it's going to be, watch out. It'll be a firestorm.
Yeah, I want Vicky to call me to tell me how excited she is.
She is. She's very excited. It's pretty fun because she's like the world's biggest skeptic. So it's fun to watch her.
Sounds good. Hey, I'm going to turn the screen sharing on. We're starting in just under a minute here, folks. And when you can see my screen, Bill, tell me. Can you see it now?
Yes, I can.
Good. Okay. So we'll start in 2 minutes, and I know that you've got to go in 5 minutes. You said, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So anytime you need to leave, just say sayonara, and we'll see you next time. Okay. Here we go, folks. Welcome.
Okay.
To the regular weekly webinar with my JV partners. And if you're just joining us, and again, if you're watching this after the fact, Bill DeWeese, who is the owner of the site voice-over-training.org, was just excited because, and let's show people what we're talking about here, Bill will go to the site, voice-over-training, easy to find since we go to it a lot. So now, what happened was that most of those sales, though, came from the audios and the videos associated not with this site, but with the audiobook seminar site, right? Is that right? Bill, you still there?
Correct. Yes.
Good.
Which
Okay.
is yes. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Audio.
Hello. I'm here.
I can hear
Okay.
you. Can you?
Audiobooksseminar.com.
Okay.
Or org.
Am I coming through here,
I'm
Bill?
cutting in and out. Sorry about that.
Can
Yeah,
you-
off and on.
Okay. I wonder if that's me or if everybody's having a problem. If anybody's having a problem hearing me or if I'm jumping in and out, let me know on the question little book there. Okay, so here is Bill DeWeese's audiobook seminar. So just tell people briefly here, we'll brag a little bit about your success. You did this seminar back on October the 1st.
Mm-hmm.
And now...
It was my first event ever.
Okay. and you had 8 or 9 people show up.
Had 9.
And then as a result of this, so people, at the audiobookseminar.com, they showed up, they spent money, you recorded it, and tell me the real, before you go, thanks Stanley, just told me no problem. When you recorded this, there was 2 cameras and a 2-camera shoot. Have you resolved how to figure out how to get that all straightened out?
I have, yeah.
What did you figure out?
Yeah.
Tell people.
Well, what you mean, like the technique used to do that? To Well, I mean, you had actually suggested that I outsource and find somebody, but I'm just stubborn enough that I like to figure these things out. So, and I recently got Final Cut Pro, and that's what I used on it. And you might be able to do the same on iMovie, I don't know. But essentially, you take your 2 or 3, however many cameras you have, the video, and Final Cut Pro will sync those together for you. And then it's a matter of going in and separating them in the edit view, I think it's called, and then you cut out what you don't want and leave what you do want, and it's pretty simple.
So you moved from iMovie to Final Cut Pro. You're even past me.
Well, I just wanted to. I'm just kind of geek that way. I just like to mess around with stuff and to try, and to make it as good as I can,
So
and to be able to have more functionality.
So as a result of going to Final Cut Pro instead of using the iMovie, what were you sort of able to do that you couldn't do as easily in iMovie, so people will know?
Well, the multi-camera thing, from what I had researched online, it said that I could not do multi-camera editing in iMovie. And I don't know that from experience, only from my research online, because I'm a newbie at this. But Final Cut Pro does allow you that capability, although it's not considered like totally professional editing, but it's, you can't determine how long the resolve is from one camera to another, like the fade in and fade out. But it will cut from one camera to another quite easily.
So were you able to knock the whole thing out yourself then?
I'm about halfway through it right now.
Nice, impressive. And so, and how tough was the learning curve on Final Cut?
It took me, I spent a lot of hours researching it. But once I found the right information, it didn't take me long. The thing that's taken me the most time is the fact I'm using a MacBook Pro, a notebook, to do this. And that is almost impossible, but I'm learning how to get it done.
Yeah, and so the next thing will be to buy the iMac as opposed to having the
yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'm glad to hear it.
Exactly.
So, hey, if you got to run, go ahead and run. I don't want to keep you. You're the hardest working man.
I do got a recording session, but hey, it's good talking to you guys.
Okay, hey, good. Thanks for checking in. And Dave says,
See you, Bill.
See you, Dave.
Okay, thanks, buddy. Okay, so everybody else here, that was one of my JV partners who is Bill DeWeese. He's in the voiceover business, and he teaches other voiceover artists how to market themselves better, how to make more money, and specifically this seminar here from this site. And I see that somebody said they couldn't see the screen. That can't be our problem because everybody else is seeing it fine, so you may want to do some whatever your adjustments are there. This seminar is what he did. And again, I would use this and my site that I've got, the Fred Info Bootcamp site, to use as templates for doing your own seminar. So if you want to do your own seminar, look at this one. I think this one obviously worked pretty well to get him in the event, but if you're going to be doing a seminar, also I have a couple of new announcements. I have, as of today, released the following, and everybody please go ahead and marketing seminar, let me just get this here, seminar marketing expert.com. And please tell all your friends. You can, by the way, do this one of 2 ways. You can either go here to this site, seminarmarketingexpert.com, click on free seminar marketing training, and Stanley, my webmaster, who's online, has done a great job in getting this all up. We've got this free basic seminar marketing audio course. Start at the beginning, go through all these things. Let me give you an example. Topics and titles for your seminar and event. Click on that, and you will see this clever little player that comes up here shortly for the audio. It's still loading. And what this allows you to do, and I'll just give you an example here. So I've taken this is about 3.5, 4 hours worth of material. You click on the play button.
Let's talk now about selecting a title and topic for your seminar.
Sounds good. So now what I've done is, soon there's going to be a transcript for this, but again, now we've got 2 places, both here and at my Fred Gleeck site. So now the other thing, though, is you can also go to iTunes, and I'll show you this. This one isn't quite, but let me just show you what's happening here. If you go to the iTunes store, let me see here. Somebody just, I think, texted me. Yes. Okay. Let's see here. So if you go to iTunes, I think you go to the, where's the store? There is the store. And I want to show everybody this because I got some advice from a guy that I very much respect on this, and I want to share with you what I did. So I went to the, no, that's not the iTunes store though. Huh, that's kind of crazy. Anyway, where is the store? I think maybe, no, let's check. Search store. So I'm going to put in my name, Fred Gleeck, and see if something comes up through this way. I'm used to seeing it in the actual iTunes deal here. Huh. No, that's not it. Buy, download iTunes. Let me just
You need to open iTunes?
Yeah, do I?
program?
Yeah. Just, let me make sure that that's... Let me just see here. Okay, so let's go to iTunes Store. Don't download that right now. So good things Dave is here so that I can actually figure out how to do something. Let me small this down a little bit so it fits properly. Got to make it even a little bit smaller because when I record this, it's got to be a certain size. So I just want to show everybody. Okay, so in searching the store here, I put in my name, Fred Gleeck, and so here's what happens. So hopefully it'll do it quickly. And here we go. It's still loading. So here, as you see, I have this little caricature of me. So I've got 2 podcasts here. You can buy one of the books that I have, but if you click on this little icon here, it allows you, so anyone who's on this call or anyone you know who wants to can go to iTunes and download this 10-hour information marketing course absolutely free. But please just do one favor for me if you do that, which is make sure and give me some good positive feedback to help me get my numbers up on iTunes. I was talking to a guy who owns a product called Market Samurai. He's one of the owners, a guy named Ben Stickland. And Ben said to me, so as to help get my numbers up on iTunes, I need everybody who downloads it to put nice comments if you feel it's worthy, and so that I get, you know, multiple 5-star ratings or whatever the heck it is. So if you feel it's any good, make sure and comment. But you can download. There's a total of 58 audio. Whoops, not there. But there's a total of 58 audios, 10 hours of stuff, lots and lots of material. So please go ahead and go to iTunes and download this. Or you can also, like I told you earlier, you can also do what I did with the Seminar Marketing Expert, which is at fredgleeck.com/training videos. You can do the same thing online, but probably better to download it so you can carry it around in your iPod or iTunes. Hey, Jason, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well, Fred. How are you doing?
Good. Good, good, good. So I'm sitting here with Dave Hamilton. He's right next to me here in New York City.
I forgot about that. Hi, Dave.
Hey, Jason, how are you?
And so we're just
I'm doing pretty well.
a little bit earlier before you got on. Bill DeWeese was sort of enlightening us with what's been happening with him. And so tell us more about, now one of the things, tell me more. Dave has given me a little bit of information, but Jason is developing a theme on WordPress for movie makers. So give us an update on that.
Sure. Well, for everybody that's interested or you've ever thought about creating a software product, I believe this is where I think you could categorize a WordPress theme as a software product.
Yeah.
Am I correct to say that, Dave?
Yeah, that'll work.
Well, let's say that we're in a target market. We're each in our own individual markets, and you see a need. And one of the needs that's emerging for filmmakers is a lot of filmmakers these days have to market and sell their movies themselves. And when you take a look at some of the marketing that these filmmakers try to attempt, it's not good. And I thought, what if there's a way that I can at least help filmmakers create a strong, professional, and interesting web presence so that they can market and sell their movies easily. And in doing, and asking myself that question, I came up with the answer was, oh, heck, we should have a WordPress theme for filmmakers.
And Jason, so do you have a site? And I think that Dave was just telling me there's a site up that sells this, but not quite ready to be released. But let's take a look at it.
Yeah, we can take a look at that. That is, I believe, filmmakertheme.com.
And is filmmaker with 2 M's?
Correct.
So filmmakertheme.com.
And I probably know what you're going to say next.
No, it works for me. Yeah, you want to get the misspelling as well. Good, and so here it is. So I like this. This looks great. Did Dave do this?
So we're starting on a sales page here, and I modeled this actually after one of Dave Hamilton's other themes. So there's still a little bit, it's not complete here. So if you keep scrolling down, you'll see Dave's old site. I haven't gotten to it yet.
Got it.
But you can begin to see what we're doing here.
Yep.
I wanted to have a theme that very easily allowed filmmakers to display their movies and create some links to the various popular marketplaces like Amazon, Hulu, and iTunes, which I know you were just demonstrating there. If you scroll back up to the top, you can kind of see our thumbnail images here.
Yep.
The one on the left is a generic version of what this thing looks like, and the one on the right is something that we decided to brand specific to a fake movie that I hope to produce someday.
Now, by the way, is this person right here you?
It is.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, so in other words, one of the problems that independent filmmakers who have limited budgets have is in finding a way to get a site up about their film quickly, easily, and inexpensively. Is that right?
That is correct. In fact, I worked with a filmmaker on another movie, and he paid $3,500 to have his site up, and he's still not happy with it.
Got it. And so, will a filmmaker at any level be able to figure out how to use this?
I'm going to create a whole bunch of. My short answer is I hope so. I'm going to create a whole bunch of instructional videos that hold their hand through the whole process.
Yeah, that's great.
And in the event there's a filmmaker out there that doesn't want to touch this stuff, we'll also have an add-on done for you component to this site as well as a service.
That's great. I actually was thinking about you because I saw a guy show up in Facebook whose name I'm going to, I can share it with you. I don't think it's any big deal. His name is Adam Christing, Adam Christing, I think. Christing? I forget what it is. And I think, let me just Google him and see. Adam, whoops. Anyway, he has produced a couple, and he's a person we should have you talk to.
Sure.
Yeah, so here it is. So this is a guy who, so he's someone that you should talk to, and he's both but he's produced a couple of films. And let me just see if we click on bio here. Let's see here. Let's see it because on his Facebook film, let me just put Adam Christing, but put filmmaker. Oh, well, he'll probably have it in his Wikipedia entry. Who he probably had his best friend put up for him. So let's see here. Let's see the early years, blah blah blah. Entrepreneur. Here's films. So Christing launched a film company called Creek Park Pictures. Blah blah blah. So you may want to take a look at this, but he's a guy that I can get you in touch with, who would probably have a bunch of people who would have an interest in the theme as well.
Yeah, I hope to, as we refine this, we're going to figure out a launch strategy, Fred, and that'll be another conversation that you and I, and we might even want to just record that and make it available for folks. We can talk about that too. But
Yeah.
I want to come up with a very specific launch strategy that would involve people like Adam and some other folks that already have somewhat of a footprint in the filmmaking community that can help us get this out to the maximum amount of people in the least, cost-effective way.
The other thing that I thought about is, given the fact that
Or most cost-effective.
I'm here in New York for the next week, if you could knock out a quick, like, one-page flyer, I could take it down to the New York Film Academy or whatever it is. and
Sure.
I'll bet people would eat that up. There's a couple of big film schools like that here, but I could definitely take that over to them and just say, here, guys, or put it up on their board or whatever.
Yeah, there's still a few things we have to check off the list. I just got the final version of the theme today.
Got it?
And for anybody that's trying to do something like this, you should also know, to take a step back, this is about a 1.5-year process for me. I once outsourced to a programmer in India, and that was that was a huge money pit. But I learned a lot about outsourcing. And then I was working with Dave Hamilton. He put me in touch with somebody in Romania that's been more than helpful. And while he was a little bit more expensive, we got it right the first time. I should say the first and a half time.
Why don't we talk about what went wrong the first time? Because I'm going to talk about something in the same area. So let me hear.
Okay.
So let's talk about sort of outsourcing and what'd you learn?
Well, as mentioned, I came up with the idea, and I thought, well, who could help me do this? So I reached out to some of my friends from college that understand coding, and they're programmers, but they were too busy with their own projects to help me. So they gave me an outline of what I needed to post to any programmer, and it should be able to, was speaking the programming language. So I took this description of what I wanted, and I found somebody actually through Fiverr.com and asked if they could create a WordPress theme for me. And we worked out a deal, and he did, in fact, create a WordPress theme for me. But what was interesting is I always found one or two things wrong with every time he sent me a new version. And I would respond to him and I'd say, hey, this thing's wrong. Can you please fix this? And he would fix that, and then he would come back, and then I would go through the theme, and something else was broken. And that happened maybe 4 or 5 times to where I got to the point that, I think I realized that this guy was just doing this on purpose. So it wasn't a good experience. And that's when I reached out after that. I pulled the plug on, throwing more money in that guy's direction. And that's when I had the conversation with Dave Hamilton, who put me in touch with the other guy.
Good. And so it's taken a little while, but that has been a successful go, right?
Yeah, it's been a successful go. I mean, we had sort of a very early beta version that came out that wasn't quite up to par. And part of the reason is we did not incorporate our graphic designer into the original inception. I know that sounds ridiculous now. So as a word of caution for anybody that comes up with an idea, it's one thing to have a description that speaks the programming language and sort of works like a recipe. But in addition to that, you're going to want to have some graphics, or at least a mock-up of the end result that you can share with the programmer. If we would have had that stuff from the beginning, it would have saved quite a few months and a few $100s. I'm not, it's not the worst lesson to learn, and it wasn't the worst experience, because the initial framework that we created, we were able to utilize it with the new graphics.
Got it. So if somebody's considering creating now, if we were to expand this sort of generically to anybody who's out there watching, listening here, what happens is that Jason saw a huge need in his market of independent filmmakers for people to have a sort of plug and play WordPress theme. They could almost overnight have their movie put up and have it look pretty good. That was the problem, right, in the market?
Correct.
And so if you've got a market that might need something similar, again, now that you've learned everything, what would you tell people? Those are some of the mistakes. So what are a couple of things and bullet points to remember that they should do? What would be number one thing to remember, which is what?
The first thing I'd do is I'd really get an idea for what this means. What's your concept? Define your concept.
Got it. And for you, the answer to that question was what?
For me, it was the point where I had to think about, well, what do I really want this thing to do, and how can we do it so simply? Because the other thing you have to consider with the WordPress theme or a piece of software is it dummy proof? And you got to really think about, how do I give it all the functionality that makes it valuable, and at the same time make it simple enough that anybody can use it, in theory.
Okay, so once you did that, what was the next step?
What I didn't do was I did not consult with a graphic designer to create a mock-up. So I would say the second step is get your graphics, get a mock-up of the image.
Okay, so in other words, you've got to be able to show whoever the programmer is how you want it to look when it's all done.
Correct.
Got it. Anything else we should add to the list here? What about after that?
Yeah. Once you have your concept that we described in step number 1, break it down into the functionality that you're looking for.
So
You may need to talk to some nerd, some tech nerd. For example, Dave Hamilton has been my translator. I give him a good idea of what I want the site to do, and then he converts that to nerd language. And
I take that as a compliment, Jason. Thank you.
So you need a nerd translator.
Yeah, you need a nerd translator.
Right, we got that.
And
okay.
Finally, if you're going to hire on a programmer, try to work with somebody that comes via recommendation, so that you know who the heck, you know.
Okay, who has who you know or someone knows. Got it.
Exactly.
Okay, sounds good. Well, it's funny that you're talking about this because I had an experience, and Avish, I see you're there. How are you, buddy? Avish is silent at the moment.
That's rare.
Yeah, it is rare because he's still using that stupid PC instead of the Mac, I think. This is what, well, let me give you what I learned before he finally wakes up. He may have been drinking, so here's what happened to me just recently, Jason. So this sort of relates to what you were just talking about all these elements, which are great. Here's what I just did. I went on to guru.com. Here's why I went on there. I went into guru.com because I had Avish and I had created, a long audio program that I just showed everybody for information marketing. And what I wanted to do was first thing was I needed to get that audio transcribed. Luckily, I found a great lady who helps me doing that, and no, I will not give you her name because she's good and she's very reliable, and she's probably transcribing this audio as she's listening to it right now. So for now, I'm not gonna give out her name. So audio transcribed by a great lady who will remain nameless. So we had the audio, we had the transcription, and then I thought to myself, you know what? What I really want to do with this material is I've had the cover of the book on selling information out for a while, but I haven't finished the book because I had some areas. So anyway, make a long story short, I then went to guru.com back here again, and I put out sort of a I went to the top. I found the top 5 people, who were doing writing of various sorts, copywriting, whatever. And I sent them all a little blurb. And in my blurb, I said, by the way, I just had a bunch of audios transcribed, and they're in a very logical format, and I want to turn that into a book. And so I sent out emails to the top 5 rated people in the writing area within guru.com. And this is what's fascinating. I got quotes, or I got responses from all of them. Quotes from all came back. Okay? Now, here's what's interesting. The person that I just contracted with is charging me 5% of what the highest quote was. Now, let me repeat that. The person who I decided to use is charging 1/20th of the amount of the highest person that gave me a response. So what that means to everybody listening is, number one is always get, and this is always get quotes from at least 5 people for virtually anything that you do, because it'll give you an idea of what some people perceive the amount of time it will take this to be done, whatever. Now, I got to admit one thing. The fact that I chose the lowest priced provider may or may not turn out to be the best decision, but it's certainly where I'm going to start, because from there I can figure out, and who knows. And by the way, when I spoke to that person, I said, my thing that I said to her was, hey, if this works out, I got tons more work for you, so I hope we can work things out. Because someone who does this, and really that was a very very fair price, I want to make sure that they know that I'm looking at them to give them money repeatedly, not just once. So, Avish, are you on yet, by the way? I can't hear you if you are. Okay. So this allows me, I was thinking about it. So when I got this quote, I thought to myself, Avish and I recorded this over the course of about maybe 6 weeks, but it was a total of 10 hours of audio. And if you think about it, if you really wanted to work pretty hard, I would not do 10 hours in one sitting. Only people like Bill DeWeese can do that. But I might consider doing it in, say, 3 sessions. So let's say it took, if I had a really good outline, so if I would start with a good outline, right? And then I were to put, 3 hours or 3 1/3 hours over 3 days. I could then, and basically I have found that for every hour of audio, it comes out to about, and this is weird because it's pretty exact for me, 1 hour of audio usually equals almost exactly 10,000 words. So with this 10 hours of audio, I don't know if it's going to be 100,000 words, but it's probably going to be somewhere north of 80,000 words. Now, a good book, a good business book has at least 50 or 60,000 words, so this is plenty of content. And so what's going to end up happening is, I was just thinking to myself, if I had the right combination of transcriber, if I had a good person to interview me, like Avish is, and if he continues to agree to do that, it'll be great. So somebody interviewing me, and that takes a few days total, and then I get the transcriber to transcribe it, and that takes X amount of time and X amount of dollars. And then once that's done, I hand it to the person who has agreed to take transcripts and turn them into a book. I literally think now, given this system, I can crank out between 8 to 10 books a year. Because for me, the problem was, I don't mind writing anymore. I used to hate it, and I wasn't very good at it. But the problem a lot of times is with writing, it's a problem because what ends up happening is you can't really, get things done nearly as quickly. So this is allowing me to do that. So maybe some of you are frustrated because you can't crank out material very quickly. Well, here's a great way to do it, and I would highly recommend that you consider this system. Now, Avish, are you on yet? No, I still can't hear him. If he's there, I can't hear him. Jason, can you hear me? Jason? Paging Jason. Nope.
Hey, Fred, I had you on mute.
Good, okay, thanks.
Yep,
Hey,
I'm still here.
So in other words, if you followed this, all you need is a really good outline, get somebody to interview you about your topic, take that material, have it transcribed, then find the person to take that transcription and turn it into a book, and you can crank out a lot of content. Now, the reason why this really is going to make sense more and more as we go is that, Jason, did you read the book that Bill O'Hanlon recommended on the, How I Made $1 Million with my ebook over 5 months or whatever it was by Locke?
Yeah, I absolutely did. In fact, he's recommended 2 books, and the one I think you're describing is 2 guys talking. It looked like that they did exactly what you're describing. They got it transcribed.
Yeah, and but the thing that, that and other books have also impressed upon me the fact that, with Kindle and Smashwords and all the various outlets now, the more material you can crank out, the better. So all you really need is a really good outline. So I'll bet, Jason, you could, and I don't know where it stands, do you have your book on distribution? Is that getting ready to come out, or are you doing that? What's going on with that?
I'm getting close.
Yeah.
I'm very close.
And so what was
That's not one that I, go ahead.
No, I was just wondering, what was the thing that held you up from cranking it out quickly?
Me? Procrastination. I'm an okay writer. I don't mind writing. Making the time to write and actually sitting down and doing it that's my biggest problem.
So let me ask you this. If I put the proverbial gun to your head and said, hey, Jason, could you come up with a really kick-butt outline about film distribution, independent film distribution? Could you put an outline together in the course of a week?
Absolutely.
And if you and I sat down and I interviewed you about all the elements having to do with that really, detailed outline that you put together, we could probably sit down and over the course of a week knock it all out, correct?
Most certainly, yes.
And then the transcriber might take a week or so to have it transcribed, and after that, there might be another month or so to get that transcription turned into a book. So we could probably crank out a book on distribution and have it done in less than 2 months.
That's excellent. when you're talking about the transcription, when you take the transcription and change it over to a book, will they still show it in the interview format? I guess you could determine that when you discuss it with the writer, or could you change it to prose?
Well, what I'm having her do is, in fact, I could almost show you. I remember her email to me today said, "Hey, I take it that what you want me to do is basically turn this into a book and act like there was no interviewer." And I said, "Yes, correct." She said, "Oh, that's not a big deal."
Oh, perfect.
So the process here, I think that if we can, get our heads around this and understand that, the more now for you, Jason, I can see you having multiple books. I could see a shelf in which all of your book covers look very similar, and all the videos and all the DVDs or whatever all look the same, and somebody would have them on a nice shelf with everything that I could see from Jason Brubaker with a certain design on it sitting on their shelves, sort of like what what's his name did, Dove Simmons does, or whatever that you could have. So my question to you would be, if you did one on distribution, which is really your main thing, you may have some other book ideas as well, right?
That's correct.
So I could see a whole series of books, but the beauty of this system is for not a whole lot of money and in very short order, I think you could get these things cranked out. And by not a lot of money, I'm telling you, I'm looking at probably not including, here, and we should probably go through it. So let's just go through this here. So in terms of doing it this way, here's what the cost would be. So the cost of using or of doing this system that I'm describing would be the following. So you first got, first you've got to come up with the outline. Then you have to do the interview with somebody who knows how to interview you, presumably. Then you've got to get it transcribed. Then you've got to get that transcription turned into a book. And then after that, you also have to get a cover designed, the interior designed, and then you probably have to at that point go to CreateSpace, which is the people connected with Amazon. And so let's take a look at this. The outline it's no dollars out front, but it's time. The interview, again, if you're using a buddy, it's no dollars out front, it's just time. Transcription, again, you're looking at even using sort of standard rates. Let's say it came out to 10 hours and you paid $50 an hour. You're talking about $500 for the transcription. Transcription being turned into a book. Let's just say that the person charging, again, I'm giving some numbers here that might be a little bit higher than what I'm paying, or just to give you an idea. Let's say it costs $1,000. The cover designed, again, you can get that done. There's a guy that I recommend, Nick Zellinger, and he has a site called, he used fredsaysnick.com, and what he does is he does a cover design and an interior design, so these two things together for a total of about $1,000. Then you go to CreateSpace, and it's basically almost free to just have them do it, but let's say throw $100 at this. And again, these are sort of, so we're looking at, what's that, 25? We're looking at maybe $2,600 to get a book done, and fast, within probably 90 days. And so, and that's, I'm a little bit even going pretty high on the high side on a couple of these things. So for under $3,000, you can have your whole book done. Now, wait a second, yeah, because Nick offers a thing. Let me just show you this, actually. So fredsaysnick.com. He's designed a few of my things. Oh, this account has been suspended. Well, that's not a good sign. So he has got, and I forget where he normally puts his stuff here, but his name is Nick Zellinger, and I like the guy. He obviously didn't. Zellinger, I forget the name of his company, but Nick does a deal for about $1,000. He does both. Let me just Google him to show you, find this guy. Nick Zellinger, NZ Graphics, that's it. Okay, so at NZ Graphics, he does this kind of a deal, and so he's got a bunch of stuff that he's done. I think you'll see a couple of mine coming up here somewhere. But he has a special deal where it's like sort of a friend of Fred kind of deal. But go check this guy out and contact him. Let me see if any of mine are on here. There it is. There's one of mine. So, you know, he'll do some type of a deal, and there's his number. So it's 303-985-4174 or nzgraphics@comcast.net. I'll actually copy all this and put it on the little thingy here. So that is his contact. Those are his contact information. And because the big problem has always been that, you know, you get your book done, but then, you know, it's a pain in the neck, or it's really expensive to get the cover design and the interior design done. So he does it for a flat rate. So I encourage you, you know, contact Nick, tell him I sent you, he's a good guy. And, you know, that's a way to crank it out. So Jason, for you, I really like the idea of eventually, and again, this is once the money starts to flow in, because I know for you right now, you know, you're trying to be conservative because, you know, you've now run out of all that investment banking money.
Yeah.
And
yeah, for the listeners, I used to work for Lehman Brothers, so it was good while it lasted and enabled me to live off of some savings and make some movies. But sometimes the gravy train ends.
yeah, it's sort of like, yeah, leaving college when your parents are paying for it.
It does feel that way.
Fred, if I could say one
Although
thing
I
about
paid my own way through college. I'm a hard worker, as you know.
Dave has a comment.
the thing about this system you're talking about is it's putting a book out, but you're not writing a book. You're talking about the book, and then that becomes the book. I think for most people, the cost, and I may be guessing here, but the cost is not the biggest obstacle. It's sitting down and writing. That's overwhelming for people. But to say write an outline and then talk about it, people could do that all day long, and that becomes the book. That seems a whole lot more doable.
Do you agree, Jason?
I do agree. And Fred, there's many thoughts I have for topics, and you and I can speak offline. There's a few things that I'd like to do with you. One where this might even come into play is maybe you, myself, and Dave, we get together and we create a book on how to hire an outsourcer to create a piece of software, if you will.
You know what's really funny is
And that could be something.
I almost reserved a domain name today before Dave showed up on this exact topic. So yeah, we're thinking along the same lines. I agree. It would be, because I'm telling you, a lot of people get really screwed when they hire an outsourcer. And Dave has had problems. I've had problems. There's been a myriad of things that can happen. And so I think that...
Yeah, I found Dave's guy was a little bit more expensive than my guy in India, but I got to tell you, I think it was worth it just in terms of headache cost. You know, there is a cost associated with just back and forth and things that are lost in translation.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And speaking of which, you know, I know that this is a little bit off topic, but Moneyball, The Help, and 50-50 are my 3 favorite movies of the year.
Yeah, not bad.
And I think that Brad Pitt will legitimately get an Oscar nomination, and he deserves it.
You know, they laugh about him though because he eats in every one of those scenes. Have you heard that humor?
No, he does. He's eating in every scene.
Yeah, that's it. Well, not every scene, but that's his go-to activity. So when you watch the movie again and all of his other movies, I think it was Kevin Smith has a podcast, and they were making some jokes about that. That's his go-to action in scenes is he's always eating.
God, you know what? I think it might have to do with all the children that he's been buying from various places. You know, so he's got to eat for more.
Might have something to do with it.
Yeah, that could be it. And by the way, for those of you who like thoughts like that, I was just going to direct you to one place real quickly. Again, slightly off topic, but worth it. Billions in Minutes is one of my sites. And at Billions in Minutes, it will take you to a line on there that I think is probably worth taking a look at, which is, let me just find Brad Pitt. Okay, so one of the bonuses at this particular program is one of Angelina and Brad's recently rejected children as a free gift. College education.
That's a pretty good gift.
Yeah,
actually.
it's not bad. It's a gift that keeps
that
on.
bonus itself could sell.
What's that?
The bonus itself sells me on what you're trying to take away.
Anyway, so Yeah, so this system for getting a book done is certainly worth considering, especially if you have an easier time speaking than you do writing, which at least for me that's definitely the case. I mean, I've gotten to sort of be to feel pretty confident about my writing, but not nearly as confident and as quick as I could if I were speaking things. And I think that's true. I guess for some people listening or watching the webinar, that may not be true. That's definitely true for you, right, Jason?
That's correct. And if I could just add another one, and you may have some thoughts on this, Fred, but you know that I have a graphic designer that I've been utilizing for just about every ebook design and everything that I do graphic related, including websites.
He's phenomenal, by the way.
He's a good buddy. And
yeah, let's promote him.
What'd you say?
He's phenomenal.
Oh, sure. If you want to go ahead and plug him,
Yeah.
it's Ian Hannon.
Okay, Ian.
IanHannon.com.
Hannin, right?
Hannin. Yeah.
So it's Ian Hannon.
And he's a buddy of mine, and for better or worse, he's been watching me create some passive income, and he said, you know what, that's pretty cool. I'd love to be able to do that. And I've worked a deal out with him, and this is just general to everybody, but I've worked a deal out with him because I know we're going to be working together for probably forever, you know, barring any unforeseen craziness.
Right.
So I just decided to cut him in for 5% of everything that I make with all the products that he works on.
Yeah, he's really
with the
talented.
exception of other ones where I might give him a large.
Yeah, I like his stuff
And
a lot.
Yeah, well, what a lot of people don't know about him is for the past decade, he's actually been the colorist for some of the top comic books in the comic book industry, including Batman, Spider-Man, and quite a few other ones.
Wow, that's cool. So now
He's worked for DC and Marvel.
Yeah, he's impressive. I really like his work. And just for the rest of us, and by the way, it's sort of weird because on this particular webinar, Avish, can you hear me yet, by the way?
Yeah, sorry, I had to take a call. I muted myself a little while back.
No problem.
But I'm back.
Well, one of the things is that just so that people don't think that everybody I work with happens to be in the performing arts, which it sounds like, it's just I gravitate towards those folks because frankly, and I hate to say this out loud and offend people, but I think most business people are really boring. But that's in general. So
I'm like the mirror. I'm kind of the mirror opposite, Fred. I was a guy who started in the arts, and now I realize, you know, the business is essential to actually making money as an artist. So
yeah, and I think
that actually, and I know you and I've had these talks.
Yeah, and creativity, you know, the business people definitely need to sort of check out what the artsy people know because their creativity there is a whole different thing. Let me show, Avish, let's take a look at, and why don't we talk about what we sort of thought about when we got together. We were just together a couple days ago in Las Vegas, and let's talk to people about what we sort of came up with as some ideas based on what we did together.
Okay.
So,
well,
yep.
As far as this site goes, the primary thing was we're going to try the same approach on Speaking Expert that you're using on fredgleeck.com, which is taking the 50 MP3s we recorded as a product earlier this year and putting that up there in kind of a Khan Academy style format, which Stanley is working on. He emailed me. I gave him some more information today. Logic being that we want to make this a site people come to get information, and then when they come there, they stay there. Because our end game, right now, I guess we have two end games. One is the speaking school, which is the event we just did this past weekend, and the other is the group coaching program we're doing. So, giving up a few bucks on a product, which frankly at this point is not selling well anyways, to put it up for free to get the traffic numbers up and to get people spreading the word and increasing the stickiness of the site, in order to make multi-$1,000 sales down the road is something we figured would be worth it.
Yeah, and I agree. And so I think that people, again, this comes back to the whole idea of endgame. And why don't you just define for people what endgame is so they understand it?
Well, endgame is what you want your visitor/customer to do, not just right now, but long term. Like, what are you trying to build your business towards? So you make your decisions not just based on getting the immediate sale, but what your long-term plan is.
Yeah, it's just like what I'm sitting here and what Dave and I are going to be doing. over the next couple days, since he's here in New York, is trying to find out, taking Dave Hamilton, who is, by the way, we've been saying, but Dave Hamilton is at webmarketingmagician.com. And so Dave is we're trying to figure out, taking his talents and trying to figure out how we can best put that into materials that will make him money, hopefully creating both, sort of passive sources of income, but also, again, allowing him to have other additional things because, and Avish, the same thing is true with us, which is that, yes, there are some people who, you have the total do-it-yourselfers, right? And they're the ones that will get our courses and go off on their own and do it themselves. However, most people, do it with a little help. And then lastly, do it for you people. So again, if I were to assess percentages on this, a lot of times people say, oh yeah, I can do it myself. So then they buy your product on how to do it yourself, whatever it is, whatever topic you have. They buy it and they go, man, this is great. And a certain small percentage of those people actually do it themselves. Then there's another percentage of the people who bought that do-it-yourself program who go, you know what, this is really good, but to be honest, I really don't think I have the time to do this, or I need some help. So then they sort of automatically bump themselves up to the next area, which is do it, take that product, but then get a little bit of help from the person who produced it, in this case, Dave Hamilton. And then lastly, they're the people who then oftentimes will buy the product and say, you know what, I don't have time for this. Hey, Dave, you do it for me. So, and again, it's always better if all we do is sell this one right here, because that requires no time once the product is created. But in reality, most people want some hand-holding. So let's again go through it. If it's for you and me, Avish, and again, I know we've talked about this, but let's think about it. When someone comes to speakingexpert.com, their goal is to find out how to become a better or how to become a speaker and get paid for it, right?
Yeah.
So the do-it-yourself would be, products of various sorts on both how to speak and how to build a business. And then, so then the next step up would be with some help, and that would be what, Avish?
That would be probably the coaching type stuff, or us critiquing them remotely, or them getting some kind of regular coaching.
Yeah. So again, it's then, and then if it's the do it for you thing, that means we might actually help them write their speech, go with them to an event and critique them, so it's different levels at which we can do this. So obviously this is the easiest to do because once done, all you're doing is selling a product. This is sort of the do it, give them the product, but then also give them a little bit of help. And this is the item that, again, you have to price accordingly, because if not, now, in the case of Bill DeWeese, who was on the call earlier, 3 days with Bill is $10K. And then 2 days, and that's, by the way, one-on-one. And I'm not suggesting these should be your numbers if you're watching or listening to this. I'm just giving you some examples here. For him, this one is the 5K, and this is 1-to-3 ratio. And this one, the 1 day, is, I think he got it to basically, 2,500 or so, and that was 5 people. So again, shorter duration, more people, less money, all the way up to the 3 days for 10K. And so Avish, in our case, to write the speech, this is obviously the highest end product. This is the middle. And this is here, this one up here, obviously above it is the cheapest. So there you have it. And let's see, what else should we talk to people about, Avish? Is there anything else that we learned at our event that we could share with any of the other JV partners as well?
That's a good question. I think.
Can I ask you a question real quick about these different products?
Sure.
Or different services?
Yeah, sure.
I'm in a situation here where I'm getting a lot of filmmakers that are contacting me to do the marketing for them. And when I budget my time and the amount of effort that it's going to take to do a good job for them, I find that it really eliminates my time to devote to things that I really want to focus on. So what I've been doing is I've been looking for somebody that I could kind of partner with in maybe a referral relationship type situation where they enjoy the hands-on stuff a little bit more than me. And assuming that I do my due diligence and I find somebody, what are your thoughts on just me flipping over some of these folks to them so that somebody else can kind of hold their hand through the whole process? I mean, I'm there to kind of oversee everything, but I'm not the actual guy doing the down and dirty work.
I think it's a great question. So not doing the work yourself and sort of outsourcing it. I think that it's a great idea, especially if there's plenty of volume. Number one. Number two, it's also a great idea if the person handles customers as well as you would. Because Dave Hamilton is a perfect example. Dave is good with customers almost to a fault because he ends up getting taken advantage of by a lot of people because he's so nice and doesn't want to offend and wants to make sure to give them what he promised, et cetera, et cetera. So people have, not just once but more than once, sort of taken advantage of his niceness and ease of dealing with people.
Oh, sure.
But so if you can find someone who is, sort of Dave-like, who likes doing that, so the question then would become is, what's the right split? Because obviously if that person is doing all the work, just so ask yourself just off the top of your head, if you found someone who could do that, Jason, how much would you be willing to give them? What percentage?
I'd be willing to give them up to 80% because if right now I'm sourcing a high volume of filmmakers with this need, and it's just more than I can deal with. I'm not saying that they're throwing money at me. I mean, you still have to sell, the concept and all of that kind of stuff. But assuming that I can turn some of these looky-loos into buyers, I'm not opposed to giving a rather large piece of the pie because to market a movie, it's an ongoing effort. It's like marketing anything else. It's not just all right, well, you just bought the marketing package, you're done, good luck. It's like we're going to work with you for 3 to 6 months, if not more, to hopefully make this thing work.
So how would you price it, Jason? In other words, I'm a filmmaker. I say, yeah, I want to buy your marketing package. Is it one flat fee, or is it a fee and then a monthly charge? How would you price it?
Well, I'm happy to talk to you about this some more to refine it. It's still an emerging market, so the folks that are in my space right now, there's still less than a dozen of us, and I know most of them. And some of them are recharging a monthly retainer. My fee right now is $10,000 for 3 months of work, which involves, weekly and daily different things that you do on the internet to drive traffic to the movie website. Which, that may seem like a lot of money to some filmmakers, but that money also incorporates, if I have to do any paid advertising, that'll come out of that as well.
Now, are those are filmmakers that you're dealing with in a position to come up with that kind of cash?
Well, unfortunately, the filmmakers that I'm dealing with mostly have spent their cash on their movie budget. And so there's a change taking place in the whole industry now where filmmakers, when they put together their initial business plan, are now planning their marketing costs. So this is in preparation for these filmmakers that have learned their lesson on the first movie that are now getting money together for their next movie, if that makes sense. So
that makes a lot of
yes,
sense.
they will be in a position to pay that money because they're going to budget for it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And Jason, since you've got your finger on the pulse of all this stuff, have you already started to see a shift in terms of the revenue where a lot of these filmmakers are finding ways to make money by giving the product or getting the product directly into the hands of the people that want to watch the movies?
Yes, I'm starting to see that, and that's why I'm having a lot of, I have a lot of enthusiasm. You can probably hear it in my voice because at least for once in my life, I feel like I'm in the right place at the right time. I just got to make sure that I keep grinding away. So this filmmaker theme that we detailed earlier is going to be a component in all of this. But the next thing I got to do is sort of pull the Dave Hamilton. And it's funny you bring that up. I'm quite familiar with how Dave Hamilton runs his business, and I don't know why I didn't see that exactly what I was asking is his model, but it's pretty funny.
Yeah, cool. Well, that's great. A lot of good discussion, and I'm glad that everyone had a chance to contribute a number of JV partners. Again, we do these every week, so I will see everybody again next week, same time.